Good morning, fifth graders. Today we are going to take our dialogue project one step further. So we're going to be working on taking speech bubbles and turning those speech bubbles into dialogue that we could eventually put into a story. The first thing we're going to do is watch the brain pop on dialogue, and then we're going to practice using the correct punctuation on a couple of dialogue sentences.
Cassie and Rita were at the beach that day. As they sat in the water, they were surprised to see a large shark fin crossing in front of them. Excited, Cassie turned to Rita and said, "Oh, did you see the size of that fin?" What? Don't you read your writing out loud? Dear Tim and Moby, how do I write dialogue? From Sonia. When you write what a character says using their exact words, it's called dialogue. Dialogue appears in comic books, screenplays, novels, newspaper articles, pretty much anywhere you see stories in print. Well, the way that dialogue is written depends on its context. In comics, dialogue often appears in word balloons. He's always taking my stuff. In screenplays, or scripts for things like films and TV shows, dialogue shows up centered, right under the name of the character doing the talking. But let's focus on dialogue that appears in prose, the kind of writing found in novels, newspaper and magazine articles, and all those writing assignments you do for school. In prose writing, dialogue is put into quotation marks. To make it clear who's saying the dialogue, we add a speech tag. That's just any phrase that identifies the speaker, like "then Tim said." These can go before, after, or in the middle of a line of dialogue. Well, whenever a different character starts speaking, you need to start a new paragraph. Oh, yeah, there's some other rules too. Check out our features to find out more. The most important thing, though, is to make sure your dialogue sounds natural, like something people would actually say in real life. It is a shark. See, while "it is a shark" may be grammatically correct, it's not really something Cassie would say, or anybody else for that matter. Plus, we can see the fin, so Cassie doesn't need to tell us it's there. You want a character's words to reveal her personality. I know that Cassie's really into sharks, so she should sound more excited. Whoa, did you see the size of that fin? Much better. The same thing goes for Rita's line. I think we should go. She's the sensible one, so it makes sense that she wants to leave. But we can add more force to her feelings by having her say, "Let's get out of here." Okay, so they begin to swim away, and then you pop out of the water with a shark fin on your back and say "beep," and the girls say together, "You tricked us," and... What do you mean you would never say that? You said "beep." That's what you say. Oh, Moby, you're so complex.
All right, so fifth graders, that video gave us a pretty good overview of how to take those speech bubbles and turn them into dialogue in a text. So we're going to hope that this, my camera's not very bright. All right, we'll see how this works. All right, so let's look at this first comic right here. I found some cute cat comics, they're pretty funny, for Christmas. And so here's what the little cat says. So holiday returns, it's after Christmas, this cat is returning some things, and it says, "I'm returning the sweater, but I'd like to keep the box." That's what the cat's saying. And that's pretty funny because you know how cats all like boxes, and they're really cute, and how they sleep in boxes all the time. Anyway, so that's kind of funny. But if I were to turn that into dialogue in a story, I would want to make sure that I have quotation marks around what the cat is actually saying. So I'm going to start with my quotation marks right here because I'm going to start with a quotation. So it's going to say, quotation mark, "I'm returning the sweater, but I'd like to keep the box." So I'm going to write inside the quotation marks exactly what the cat is saying. I'm returning the sweater, but I'd like to keep the box. Okay, now I'm going to end my quotation marks because this is what the cat is actually saying. Now, we can't just leave it like this, though. This is not a complete sentence. I need to have that, that tag. So who's saying it? What are they saying? And to separate, I always have to separate my quotation from the tag. So I'm going to put a comma at the end of my quotation, and notice that the comma goes between the last word and the quotation marks. So this is a comma. I don't put a period here. I put a comma. Now, if this were a question, I would put a question mark here. If this were an exclamation, I'd put an exclamation point here. But since this is just a regular declarative sentence, I would just put a comma. And then I have to finish it up with the cat said, or said the cat. The cat said. And since it's at the end of a sentence, I still have to have my regular period. So, this speech bubble up here, I'm returning the sweater, but I'd like to keep the box. If we were going to actually write that in a story, this is what it would look like. I'm returning the sweater, but I'd like to keep the box, comma, quotation, the cat said, period. All right, we have another one. This is another cute one. They're all cute. Okay. All right, I'm going to fold this paper so we can see everything. And this one says, I love what you've done to the place. And notice that there's the Christmas tree in the background that the cat has knocked over, and like the stockings and all sorts of stuff, because cats are naughty and they do naughty things. So I'm going to look at that next one. I'm going to see if I can get all of this to show. I don't know if I can. I got to fold this paper again. Here we go. Okay. So I love what you've done to the place. Since that is exactly what the cat is saying, that would be what I put in quotations. Now, sometimes the tag is at the beginning or the end. So let's put the tag at the beginning this time. Let's say, oh, and this is an exclamation point. So maybe we should say the cat exclaimed it or shouted. So we can say, the cat shouted. And we always have to separate our tag from the quotation. The cat shouted, comma, quotation. What is the cat shouting? We're going to put what we have in the speech bubble. I love what you've done to the place. Oops, I should have used my red. And since, again, it's an exclamation, she is shouting it, I'm going to put an exclamation point at the end of that quotation so I know how to say it. So I wouldn't say, the cat shouted, I love what you've done with the place. I would say, the cat shouted, I love what you've done with the place. So that tells you how you're supposed to be reading that quotation. Now, this next step is going to be a little bit different. You actually can go get your dry erase marker. Get your dry erase marker. All right. And we are going to do a couple of these. So I have the words all typed out. And if you actually take your dry erase marker, most of you can write on your iPad screen with a dry erase marker and it'll wipe right off. So I would like you to take a second with your dry erase marker, and I want you to put the punctuation correctly on this sentence right here. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, said Mrs. Taylor. Notice she's saying it, she's not shouting it, she's not asking it. So this is just a regular declarative sentence. So take a minute, pause the video, and put the quotation marks where they should go. All right, fifth graders, welcome back. Now we can check your work. Okay, so I'm going to think, what is Mrs. Taylor actually saying? Mrs. Taylor is not going to say, said Mrs. Taylor, because we know she's saying it if she actually said it, because it would be coming out of her mouth. So I'm dreaming of a white Christmas is what Mrs. Taylor is actually saying. So I'm going to put my quotation marks around I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Notice how they're kind of slanted. You want them to kind of turn in so that they're kind of like hug the sentence that they're saying. And this is not it though. Mrs. Taylor said this, but I have to separate the tag from the quotation. Since this is a regular declarative sentence, it's just a statement, I'm going to put a comma between the quotation mark and the end of the quotation. And again, at the end of the sentence, I need to put a period. So this is how it should be correctly punctuated. If you got it correct, give yourself a pat on the back, jump around, give your little character, little buddy next to you a high five. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is what Miss Scheibe is going to say. Miss Scheibe shouted, I can't wait for Christmas break. All right, Miss Scheibe is shouting this. Take a minute with your dry erase marker, and I want you to put quotation marks and the correct punctuation on this. Again, you can just write on your screen. It'll wipe right off. All right, welcome back, fifth graders. Hopefully you had a chance to correctly punctuate this. So we have to think, what is Miss Scheibe shouting? Okay, Miss Scheibe is not shouting her own name. Miss Scheibe is shouting, I can't wait for Christmas break. So we're going to put our quotation mark here and here. Now, we know that Miss Scheibe is shouting this. We don't want a period here. We don't want a question mark here. We want an exclamation point here so we know how she's saying it. And then there's one more piece of punctuation. Again, we have to separate the tag from the actual quotation. So Miss Scheibe shouted, comma. Notice the comma's right next to shouted. Goes shouted, comma, quotation mark, I can't wait. And whenever we start a quotation, since it's kind of like a new sentence inside of a sentence, we always use a capital letter. Now, I is always capitalized, but you'll notice that on the next sentence, we're going to need a capital letter somewhere in there. All right, let's go to the next one. Miss Menson asked, what do you want for Christmas? Go ahead and pause the video and get the punctuation correct for this one. Write it right on your screen. Go ahead and pause the video. Do that now. Alrighty, welcome back, fifth graders. Let's see. Miss Menson asked. Ooh, asked. That's a question word. I think I'm going to have a question mark somewhere in here. Miss Menson asked, what do you want for Christmas? So we have to put quotation marks around what Miss Menson actually said. And she actually said, what do you want for Christmas? That's what she said. Now we have to make sure that it's a question. What do you want for Christmas? That should be a question mark right here. And this one's a little different. What do you want for Christmas? This should be capitalized. The first word in a quotation is always capitalized, just like the first word in a sentence is always capitalized. And then we have to separate our tag from our actual quotation. Miss Menson asked, comma, quotation, what do you want for Christmas? Question mark, quotation mark. All right, here we go, fifth graders, our very last one. Merry Christmas, yelled Mrs. Vanderschaff. Okay, so take a minute, see if you can get the correct punctuation on this. Alrighty, let's see. Okay, what am I actually yelling? I am not going to say my own name. I'm not going to say Merry Christmas, Mrs. Vanderschaff, because I don't have to. That's me. So I have to decide, what am I actually saying? I'm actually saying Merry Christmas. So I'm going to put my quotation marks around here. And I'm yelling this. I'm yelling it, which means that I would probably want an exclamation point here. It's not Merry Christmas. It's not Merry Christmas. It's Merry Christmas! Yelling that. All right, Merry Christmas, yelled Mrs. Vanderschaff. Now, since we actually have the exclamation point here, I am still just going to end this with a period because I'm not yelling, yelled Mrs. Vanderschaff. Merry Christmas is the only part I'm yelling. I'm not yelling that end part. All right, so hopefully, fifth graders, you had a chance to have some good practice on this. You will next need to go into your Otis And there is an assessment in the assessment tab, and it will be practicing dialogue. You will get to drag and drop the little phrases and stuff, so that way you can put the sentence together and make sure that you have the quotation marks in the correct place. It's kind of fun. There are, I think, I can't remember how many Mrs. Taylor put in there, but like not too many, like 4. So you're going to be dragging and dropping those quotation marks to practice that correct punctuation. Please make sure that you ask your teacher if you have any question. Good luck!